All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Hi, I'm Aaron from Solace, coming at you live from Singapore. It is Tuesday. What day? I don't know. What's the date anyway? I don't even know. Tuesday, the 7th of July. Happy Canada Day, Happy America Day to all my North American colleagues and friends. Hope everything went well over the weekend. So here we are for another office hours. I'm just going to sit here and talk for an hour. Don't know who's out there listening. If you want to ask me a question, sign into put it in the Twitch chat. Tweet me at Solace Devs, or head over to our community at solace.community and ask a question there. It's our forum for all things Solace. I'm here to talk today about Solace and anything that people are wondering about. So, yeah. Yesterday I had a pretty good kind of developer workshop session with a customer, big banking customer based in, with their dev team based in India. It was really good. Dug into Solace topics, all about topic hierarchies and wildcards, some of the differences between Solace and Kafka. FYI, I'm going to be doing a live stream on Thursday in 2.5 days, with a colleague based in Canada named Heinz, who built the Solace Kafka connectors. So Kafka, as another kind of pub-sub broker type system, very file-based, has these connectors to allow kind of importing and exporting of data into their system. And Solace has some connectors for it. And we're going to be doing a live stream where I will take these connectors and try to get them running with Solace. I don't know much about Kafka, but I do know a bit about Solace, and we're going to kind of do that live on Thursday. Thursday evening, Singapore time, Thursday morning, North America time, Thursday afternoon in Europe. So head over to solace.com/events for all that information there. So, yeah. I look pretty tired. I don't know why. I got good sleep last night. I'm not really sure why. Okay, so let's begin. Does this work? Yes, that seems to be working. Okay. So today we're gonna go through some questions. Like I said, hit me up on Solace Devs on Twitter. Join the chat. Post up here on the community, and I will answer all your questions. And I'm just gonna talk about all things Solace for a little while. So, hey, yeah, here's my tune in recently. Here's my event announcement, right? So this is what I'm talking about. This is the thing that we're having on Thursday. Trish from our marketing team posted this up here. Thanks, Trish. Yeah, come join me and Heinz for this thing. So it's going to be. I don't exactly know how it's going to go because I haven't quite finished out exactly what I'm going to be talking about yet. But yeah, it should be good. Heinz is a really knowledgeable dude about all things Solace, all things Kafka, and he's going to be a great asset to have on there. It's just going to be me and him kind of chatting it up and looking how this is right. So if you're a Kafka user and you want to know how to integrate Kafka with Solace, perhaps using Solace to import your MQTT connections, because we have really good support for MQTT, versus what I've heard about the MQTT ingest into Kafka. Our API kind of micro gateway capabilities, native WebSocket termination, all that kind of stuff, bridging that into Kafka. We're going to be kind of talking about that and demoing that, hopefully demoing that on Thursday. So Heinz is the man, and with his help, I'll hopefully be able to set that up and get that all streaming live. So make sure to tune in for that. This is 10 a.m. Eastern time, so this is 10 p.m. Singapore time, Perth, Hong Kong time, and whatever time that is in Europe, I don't know. Somewhere in the middle. Sometime early afternoon, I guess, eh? Okay, I'm just gonna check Twitter here, just give it a quick refresh, make sure I'm not missing anything. Say hi if you're out there. Happy to, oh, yes, got a retweet. Tamimi, thanks. And the Secret Junior Developer. Secret Junior Developer retweeted me. Thank you. That's nice. I'm not a big Twitter user. I really should be. I should get into that more. But okay, so let's take a look. What do we got here? What do we got? This was from last week. talking about the acknowledged by message ID. This is something that we're hoping to build into the next Java API, so that's going to be kind of exciting. The ability to act a message not using the actual message ID, but by the message, not using the message, sorry, object, but using the message ID. What else do we got? What else do we got? Let's take a look at some of these newer ones here. Anybody out there, ask me a question. Hey, Srikanth. How is a Solace topic different from a Kafka topic? Wow, that is a classic question. That is a classic question. All right, I'm going to talk about that because that comes up a lot. How are Solace topics different than Kafka topics? This was just asked yesterday during my presentation with this customer. So okay, let's pause that for a second. Number one, first of all, I've answered this on YouTube already. I have a video that goes into this and talk about it for about 10 minutes. So if you want to check that out, go into YouTube, search for solace.com, and check out my topic versus topic, Kafka topics versus Solace topics. But instead of that, I'm just going to pull up PowerPoint here, and you know what? We'll talk about it right now. We'll talk about it right live on this broadcast. So let's see here. All right, I'm just going to go through it. Why not? Let's do it. I've never done a PowerPoint presentation during a live stream, so I just want to make sure that these screens are all sharing properly. That looks correct. Sweet. Okay. The screen's chopped off a little bit, but that's all right. Okay, so first, before we can talk about, Solace does pub/sub, right? Kafka does pub/sub. They both use topics. So they're the same, right? No, they're so different. The way that Solace and Kafka have implemented pub/sub are totally different. Kafka is really a file-based system. It does pub/sub, but more from a database-y kind of perspective. Solace does pub/sub, but more from a network kind of perspective. Like that's our Solace kind of comes from the network background. So even though they both do publish subscribe as a pattern, they're implemented in very, very different ways. And so because, publish subscribe is an architectural pattern, right? It's a way of kind of sending notifications, and it's a way of decoupling your architecture. So I grabbed this picture off, I think this is off of Wikipedia. And so the concept of a topic is at the heart of the publish subscribe pattern, right? So the publish subscribe is an architectural pattern to decouple your applications and to allow them to basically it's similar to the subject observer pattern, if you're familiar with that, which is kind of used a lot in GUIs, where you have a subject and observers that want to be notified of changes in the subject. Think of like a button in a GUI, right? Every time you click that button, you want to notify the application or any listeners of that particular change, right? You don't pull buttons finding out if they've been clicked, right? You don't pull in a loop to find out if something's been clicked. So the observer pattern is very much a kind of an event-driven software design pattern, where you register a listener with a button, you click that button, and you're notified of it. So publish subscribe is very similar in that way, where you have producers who are sending events, sending notifications, and you have these consumers here that are consuming these events. And rather than the producers telling the consumers directly, like you do in the observer pattern, where the subject is responsible for actually telling the observers that something has changed, that his state has changed, you rely on an event broker. An event broker sitting in the middle to kind of delegate or dispatch the information going from here to here. Give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to plug in my little pointer dealie, and you can probably see it better. Use this during my online presentations here. Let's go back. Is this going to work? Yes. Okay. So you got your producer here sending a message into a topic. Your topic, this might be handled by an event broker, and the event broker is then responsible for delegating that notification out to the consumers. So the producers don't have to know about the consumers don't actually have to know about the producers. There's an event broker in the middle, sitting in the middle to kind of do this routing, and it's using a topic. Consumers register their interest in a topic, producers produce an event or a message on that topic, and things just get routed. So that is what a topic is. It's really a concept, right? It's not an implementation. It really is a concept. And so how different event brokers or how different people implement publish subscribe really, can be quite different. So let's look at, from an API perspective, right? As a developer, if you download the Solace API, you download the Kafka APIs, the consumers, the publishers, they look kind of similar at first glance, right? They can both subscribe to topics. They can both send data to a topics. In Solace, we call them messages. In Kafka, we call them records. The content of those messages could be somewhat different. Solace supply allows you to do like binary data, text data, JSON, whatever. In Kafka, it's kind of like you're stuck with Avro. But if you look at the consumer side, it's quite different, right? So in Solace, even our APIs are event-driven, right? You register a callback, your application registers a callback with the API, and whenever a message arrives for your consumer or your listener, we run this callback, this on-receive method. But in Kafka, the consumers have to poll. The consumers poll the broker to get the next batch of messages out, right? So always with this polling. And so it's not very typically an event-driven kind of style of design for the application. So they're similar but different in that way. Because Kafka kind of comes from file system based, polling is a more natural approach to it. Okay, so how are they actually implemented, right? So topics in Kafka, how are topics implemented? This is a very high level view of it, but they are essentially just files, right? So topics in Kafka are essentially files on a server. It was built by guys at LinkedIn, guys and girls. It was built by people at LinkedIn, engineers at LinkedIn, to basically aggregate logging data from across their thousands of web servers and to funnel that into their analytics for doing kind of analytics on the LinkedIn servers. And so, it was a log shipping utility or program. And so that's kind of what its heritage is. So you can really think of Kafka topics as log files, right? You can almost think of a producer when it writes something to a topic, it's just appending a line to the end of a log file. Consumers, you can almost think of them as kind of tailing a log file, right? They're tailing to a log file, listening to, every once in a while grabbing the last number of messages or last number of lines off the back of a file. This is actually how they're implemented in a Kafka server. You go look, it's all just log files. And it's a little bit more than that, right? So it's not, a topic can be partitioned. When you first download Kafka, you fire it up, you have typically just one partition. But as you need to scale things out for multiple consumers to be able to do parallelization in order to improve your performance, you take a topic and you partition it based on some key, right? So as a producer writes into a topic, it's being kind of load balanced or spread across different partitions. Each partition is guaranteed to have order, but across the entire topic, there is no order. You could, as a consumer, start reading all of one. You could completely read one partition before you read another. There's no guarantee on order across the entire topics. So only within partitions. So think of Kafka topics as partitions. That's really what they are. But topics in Solace are very different, right? Topics in Solace are not configured on the broker. They're not, you don't go into some admin API and say, all right, we're gonna make a topic and configure a topic, and then you got a file on a server somewhere. Now, topics in Solace are defined by the publishing application at publish time. They're essentially a free text string that when I create my message inside my publisher application, I say, okay, I'm gonna make a new message. Is it a bytes message, binary? Is it a text message, whatever? And I create it, and then when I'm ready to send it, I specify the topic that I'm publishing on right there. And yeah, it's essentially a text. It's text. It's not a destination. Even though our API calls it a destination, it's really not. It's really metadata of the message, and it's meant to kind of define what is inside the actual message. So check this out. I got a couple examples here, right? Topics in Solace are hierarchical. They can be up to 250 characters long. You can have a slash at different levels. So each level kind of typically represents a different facet of data or a different kind of part of the data that you want to kind of represent. It's more, topics are more than just a flat label, like a file name. Like in Kafka, a topic is just essentially a file name. So in Solace, here, let me give you some examples, right? So I got some examples here. Now these are not best practices. This is just me kind of explaining things to give an idea of concepts here. So don't follow these to the letter. Let's say you're building a foreign exchange trading platform, right? You're a banking, capital markets guy, and you've built yourself this trading platform. This is an example of what a topic could look like in Solace. So you might have the application name as level 1. Typically you kind of have some kind of domain name or application name as the first level. Then maybe you have different locations where you're publishing data from. The venue. Which data center does it come from, or what city does it come from? Is this from New York? Is this from London? Is this from Tokyo? That could be part of your topic. Perhaps in each venue you have different publishers. You could have parallelization. You could have multiple publishers publishing. So you want some way of identifying which specific publisher is sending this piece of information. The type of message that it is. Is this a spot quote? Is this a request for something? Is this a future price? Who knows? I don't know finance terms, so I just kind of threw this in there. But basically the type of the message. Quality of service. Is this real time? Is this delayed? Maybe this is a 15 minutes delayed because you've signed up for some free service, and so this is not a real time tick. This is a delayed tick. Even the currency pairs. Euro, dollar. That could be part of the topic. Could be, maybe not, maybe you don't need that, but this is just an example of what you could do with topics with Solace. Here's another one, payments platform, right? In Canada, we have Interac. In Singapore, we have Nets. These are debit and debit payment systems. This could be an example of a topic. Again, not necessarily best practice, keep that in mind. Level 1 could be the name of the application again. Level 2, maybe debit or credit, maybe some kind of command and control message, who knows. Level 3 for debits could be the bank ID that this transaction is destined for. Level 4 even could be the card number. Probably not a good idea, but just to give you an idea, just to show you what's possible with topics in Solace. Level 5, if this is a tap to pay, this is some point of purchase in a store, perhaps the store ID could even be in there. So very dynamic topics, right? This is just to give you an idea of how dynamic topics can be in Solace, right? Third example. This is I like this one. Okay, so let's say you have an IoT platform. You have buses driving around. Okay, you have buses driving around, maybe taxis driving around, trains driving around. This could be an example of data that is being published. Again, you might have level 1 could be the application name, the bus tracker. Level 2 could be the type of message. This is a GPS update. Perhaps you have an alert message type. You could have a reroute message. You could have a status update. I don't know. This is GPS update. Then level 3 could be the actual bus number, the unique ID for that bus. Level 4 could be the route that bus is on. So multiple buses can be on the same route. Level 5, level 6 could be the latitude and longitude. I could embed the latitude and longitude inside the topic string. So very dynamic, very, each topic, this is meant to show that each topic can literally be something different than the last one. So in that way, it's very, very different than Kafka topics, right? Where it's essentially a file that you're writing to a file. So very, very different style of what a topic is between Solace and Kafka. So that's how publishers kind of send data, but how do consumers receive data? How do subscribers receive that data? So this is how it's done in Solace, right? The Solace, when a consumer connects, it registers subscriptions of interest with the broker. Not necessarily when it connects. I mean, you can add and remove subscriptions all the time. So consumers, you'll have A, B, and C. They come into the broker, they connect, they establish their connection, their session in Solace API terms, and they add subscriptions, right? So the broker is now maintaining this list of all clients and all of their subscriptions in basically a giant lookup table, essentially. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but that's essentially what it is. It's a big lookup table of all the subscriptions and all the clients. So when a message is published, you have multiple publishers connected in, they're sending message on topics, the messages are being streamed into the broker will kind of grab the topic of that message, each message in order, and head off to the subscription lookup table and figure out who is going to get that message. So it does a lookup, right? And it compares this on a message by message basis as the messages arrive into the broker. So in this particular case, clients B and C have subscribed to that particular topic. So that message is then sent asynchronously to those particular clients. It's pushed into the API. The API will then dispatch it up to the application via that callback, the on-receive callback. So clients or applications B and C will just receive a callback to say, hey, here's a message. It's on topic 02. That's it, right? There's no need to poll. The broker will just send the data when it arrives in real time to those clients. But as we just talked about a whole bunch, there's almost an infinite number of topics, right? How do you subscribe to an infinite number of topics? How do you subscribe to location data, lat long data, every single card number that's out there? That's impossible. So we use wildcards. Solace supports wildcards to allow, I got a line wrap there. It's a little bit going off the page. Solace supports wildcards to allow a single subscription to match multiple topics, right? So wildcards enable advanced routing and filtering. So we'll see that in just a second. Now, wildcards are very much a consumer side concept. You don't publish on wildcards. That doesn't exist. When you publish, because the publisher knows kind of the payload, it's able to fill in each line or each level of that topic hierarchy because it's well defined. It's typically a variable kind of substitution thing. But on the consumer side, if a consumer wants a specific topic, it puts it in explicitly. If it doesn't care about a particular level or levels, then it can use wildcards. We support two different types of wildcards in Solace. There is the star, the single level wildcard. And now it will match everything up until the next slash that it sees. So think of it as kind of a reluctant, a greedy reluctant quantifier in regex terms. Is that correct? Is that the right terminology? Reluctant? Dot star question mark, if you know regexes. And it can actually be used with a prefix, right? So you can say ABC star, and that will match on that particular level every word that starts with ABC. So you can do A star, B star, C star, and as multiple subscriptions to kind of do alphabetic, matching. You can have one consumer listening to all the A stars and one consumer listening to all the B stars, and that way you can kind of get sharding of the topic space. The other wildcard that we support, multi-level wildcards, right? Multi-level comes at the end, so it's essentially it would be the last character in a topic subscription, and it essentially says if you've matched up to here, no matter what comes afterwards, match one or more levels, doesn't matter, that comes after that. So let's look at let's go back to our examples just to give you an idea here, right? So I hope the microphone's working all right. I think it is. Hopefully it is. Right. So our FX trading platform, right? So this was our topic format, app, venue, feed, type, QoS, currency pairs. So if you wanted to subscribe to all of the data coming out of one venue, right? All of the data coming out of New York 4, for example, as a data center, if those first two levels match this, then this multi-level wildcard means no matter what comes afterwards, no matter what additional topics or levels are after this subscription will match all of that. So if every piece of data every event that's published in your New York data center starts with these two levels, then this particular subscription will match all of that. So think of this as a way to kind of just funnel all of the data coming in from New York data center into this particular subscriber. This might actually plug into Kafka, right? Kafka is great at doing massive analytics, streaming analytics on data. In a Solace distributed architecture, Kafka is a consumer. Kafka is just a massive consumer of all the data that's going across that you can plug into your analytics. So you could easily set something like this up to essentially listen to all of the data coming out of a particular venue, right? To store for later. Something a little bit more weird and interesting. Let's say you wanted to listen for a particular type of quote across all of your global platform, right? So we put a star at the venue. We put a star at the particular publisher ID, right? So no matter what venue and no matter which feed handler, put stars there, we don't care. But we're listening for specifically real-time spot quotes that involve the euro against any currency. Put a star on the currency. This subscription will match that. So if data is being published in Tokyo or in London, you know it's going to have different fields here in these two. But as long as it matches these three in the middle, then we're going to receive that. This subscription will receive that. So very particular type of filtering. Now this filtering is done in the broker, right? The broker does the filtering of this. And that's another big difference between Kafka and Solace is because we have this very fine-grained hierarchical capability, you can allow the broker to do filtering before it's sent to the client, rather than having the client have to do the filtering after the data has been sent across the network. Here's another example, right? Our payments platform. You know, you signed up a new bank onto your platform, you give it a new ID, you say, okay, bank, every debit transaction that starts that belongs to you, we're just going to start this subscription for you, and you're going to get all of those authorization requests. You know, this could be a request reply type of eventing scenario here. Or here's a weird one. Let's say a particular store, 1049, has some weird looking credit card transactions. You want to listen to them. But you only want to listen to cards that start with 4817. So you can use a combination of the single level wildcard here for whichever bank it is, and then a prefix 4817 on the wildcard there. So this will listen to specifically credit card events or authorization requests from that particular store that start with 4817. Finally, the bus, right? The buses, they're driving around. Maybe you want to listen to all data, you know, no matter what type of data. Is it alerts? Is it communications? Is it broadcasts, status updates? From any bus star on route number 95. So using a combination of the single level wildcard and the multi-level wildcard, you know, we don't care what comes afterwards. As long as it starts, the route is 95, we want to receive that piece of information. You can do that with this subscription here. So very specific, I'm only interested in listening to route number 95 right now. Or, how about this, right? All GPS messages, so GPS, not alerts, not status updates, just GPS ones, put a star at these two levels, so no matter what bus number, no matter what route number, right? So any bus or any route that matches this particular latitude, longitude wildcard. Now, Solace Topics subscriptions, we don't support arithmetic. You know, we can't say greater than or less than or, you know, things like that. It's just pattern matching. It's just alphanumeric pattern matching. But if you look at this and you kind of make sure that your topics are formatted the correct way, this will match 045.30000, and it will match all the way up to 0.3999999, which essentially gives you a range, right? It gives you a range between 45.3 and 45.4. 3.99999 is effectively 4, right? And so that gives you a range. And if you have the latitude and longitude on different levels, you can specify the longitude as a range as well. And so now we can actually define an area. And this is actually what this area looks like. So we are subscribing to GPS updates between 45.3 to 45.4 north and 75.7 to 0.8 west. This is in Ottawa, in Canada, my mom's house. I grew up somewhere around here somewhere. So this is where my mom lives. And I just kind of made it a bit of an example here. But so here's our subscription. So how does this work? So our buses are driving around, they're sending their GPS updates. You know, I'm bus number 8391 on this particular route. You know, these two numbers don't really matter. And I'm publishing my latitude and longitude. And as long as it matches this format, you know, I have to have these leading zeros here to make sure that the padding works out correctly. As I'm publishing along, you know, once I enter this zone, my topic will match the subscription, right? So 3.895 will match this, which essentially means that my bus is now kind of inside this area. And I'm going to start this subscription, this box subscription will start to receive this data. And as long as that bus or taxi or whatever it is driving along and publishing data while they're, as long as it matches this subscription, you'll continue to receive it, this consumer. So essentially, you'll have these kind of dots moving through your area. So if you needed to do streaming analytics based on an area, you can now do it with this in Solace. So this, again, the broker is doing this filtering. Me, the consumer, maybe this map is the consumer or some analytics is the consumer. It doesn't need to do the filtering. It doesn't need to actually go and look at the coordinates. It knows that it's already been filtered by the Solace broker to this kind of this rectangular region. It's rectangular because we're not at the equator. If we were at the equator, this would be a perfect square. But that's why latitude and longitude kind of, as you go further north, it gets more squashed. So anyway, that is more or less a video that I have on YouTube. I just kind of went through it again. But that is a really big difference between Solace topics and Kafka topics. Now, topics in Kafka, Kafka supports wildcards as well. You could say, well, Kafka supports wildcards, but it's very different way of supporting wildcards. In Kafka, when you subscribe to a wildcard, what it does is the consumer will go to the broker and scan for any files or any topics that match a particular pattern, right? So you could say, find me all the topics that start with GPS, right? So if you have multiple streams, multiple topic files that have that particular name, the broker will kind of assign you, allow you to subscribe to them. It will kind of add a subscription for you. It's very different than in Solace where, as messages come in one by one, message by message basis in order, the topic is extracted from the message and compared to your big subscription lookup table. So it's a very, very different concept of how topics and subscribers and everything works. So there you go. All right, good stuff. Thanks for that, Srikanth. Happy to spend a bit of time talking about that. Wow, that was half an hour. Oh my God, that was a long one. I'm just going to quickly check for any notifications on Twitter, just to see if anybody's tweeted there. Probably not. Hit me up on Twitter, Solace Devs. Log into, sign up for Twitch and leave me a chat there. I'm just going to quickly pop back now to the old community, see if there's anybody posting up anything recent on here. I'm thirsty. I can bring my water bottle up here. I don't have any water. Okay. Let's see here. Let's see. What can we talk about? That was a great question. Thanks for that. Right, so just a reminder, Thursday, if you're just tuning in, Thursday, 2 days from now, 2.5 days from now, I'm going to be doing a live stream with my colleague Heinz, 10 a.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Singapore. What's that going to be? 3 p.m. UK time. We're going to be doing a Kafka connectors, integrating Kafka with Solace. Solace Pub Sub Plus. We have our connectors, they're on our GitHub page, and we are going to be live. I'm going to install a Kafka broker. I've done it once, and I'm going to fire it up, and we're going to do some ingest of data into Kafka. So right on. This was an interesting problem. I want to talk about this a little bit here. All right. This is something that I'm going to need to actually go and kind of double check. Part of my job, besides doing these silly videos, is one of the things I'm working on is improving our samples. So we have Solace has a REST API, right? So an ability to post REST messages into the broker and have them land on topics, have them land on queues, and be able to have those data, the same message events be posted out. So say you have an MQTT publisher sending topics into Solace. We actually have a configuration called an RDP, a REST delivery point, that can extract those messages and then stick them out to via like a webhook to a REST consumer. So say you had some Spring microservice that was using REST rather than messaging. you could hook it up and basically have event data messaging, MQTT or JMS messages being sent into a REST endpoint. So that's what this guy is trying to do. Good old Tom here jumped in and tried to say, okay, the problem is we need to narrow it down. Let's take a look at the RDP configuration. Now he's checking out the using the PubSub Plus Manager. This is something that I didn't really know until fairly recently, is that the PubSub Plus Manager has been extended to support all of the REST capabilities that Solace has. So now let me boot up, let me see here. Let me boot up terminal. Get a new one. Good old Windows Terminal. People haven't downloaded Windows Terminal. I really suggest you try it out. It's pretty awesome. I'm just going to get this started. Log into my lab. All right. Now, I should be able to, let's just verify here. Localhost. Looks like it's working. Yeah, good. Is it the lab? 9.2. It is. It's my old broker. So localhost port 8081. I got port mapping set up differently. So this is my Solace software broker running in my lab. Now, if I want to look at how to do RDP configuration, one reference I might point you to is our code lab. So I made a code labs tutorial not too long ago. Head over to codelabs.solace.dev, where this list of code lab tutorials is growing by the week. Every time I check back here, there's a new code lab. It's quite awesome, actually. Is that sharing correctly? That looks like it's sharing correctly. So this is the one that I did. This is actually the Kubernetes one I still have yet to do. I really want to try that. But this, the Helm setup with Kubernetes is something that my colleague Paul did, and I really want to do a video on it. If you have a Windows machine and you have Docker Desktop, there's a Kubernetes distro installed in there. So basically getting Kubernetes up and running on your Windows machine is trivial. It's like click on, click restart, done. You now have Kubernetes running on your Windows machine. Can you do that on a Mac? I don't know. I think it's a little bit more complicated getting Kubernetes set up on a Mac and a Linux box. There must be. I mean, Windows is not the only one that does that. Anyway, if you're out there and is it trivial to get to Kubernetes running on a Mac, let me know. I am a big proponent of Windows development, but I have, not everybody agrees with me. Anyway, REST. This is a code lab that I wrote on how to get REST, not messaging. So this is using our REST micro gateway. Solace has two different ways of kind of interacting with REST applications. One is the Solace broker can expose a REST messaging API where you can do posting in and out of the broker. So the broker essentially acts as a server where, if you have a REST client, you post into the broker gives you a 200 OK to say, yep, I got your message, and I will forward it on to downstream consumers. Downstream consumers could be messaging applications, or they could be REST applications as well. But we also have this micro gateway feature, which is what this particular code lab is about, and this basically allows the broker to act as a pass-through. So when you REST client makes a request, is it a post, is it a get, is it a put or a delete? The broker doesn't terminate that. It basically passes it through to some back-end application, whether it's a REST application or whether it's a messaging application. But if it's a REST application, you need to configure an RDP on the back end. So that's kind of what I just wanted to show here. So basically allowing a REST request to go out of the broker, you need to set up an RDP. So I kind of walked through that. So if you want a quick and easy way to see how to set up an RDP, I have a couple steps here on this code lab. So one is you got to create a queue to attract messages to it. I show you how to do it with PubSub Plus Manager, but I also show you how to do it with SEMP down here. Curl command, use a curl command. Look at that, one click, one command, boom, I've created a queue. You want to add a subscription to that queue? Boom, one command. You know, how easy it is to, like, it's so easy to script this stuff. SEMP, you know, doing things manually with the GUI is, you know, it's okay, I guess. You know, create a queue, blah, 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 add subscriptions to the queue, click, 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 click. The GUI is great for kind of learning Solace, but once you get better at it, it's you know, I think script things, man. Use SEMP or use CLI. Using our command line tool, right? Command line interface. This is what I actually use primarily. I don't use the GUI that much. So even though we have this nice GUI and it looks very pretty, and you click on, you know, queues, and I go to create a new queue, and I say queue, you know, queue new. There it is. I can change some size and some parameters on it. Advanced settings. Look at all this stuff. I mean, the GUI is great for kind of seeing what's available. If you don't kind of know or don't really know Solace that well, the GUI is so easy, right? It's probably your first stop. When you have the Docker image running locally, port 8080 is generally the port that we expose. I just have port 8081 here because I'm doing an SSH tunnel, so it doesn't conflict with any brokers running locally. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, CLI. So this is, I'm in CLI. Show console. Let me see what my timeout is. 120 minutes. The default, this is something that really actually drives me nuts, is the default timeout for CLI is 5 minutes. You know, so when you first download the Solace software broker, you know, CLI, you load it up. If you just basically walk away from the CLI for just a few minutes, it usually logs you out, which is sometimes kind of annoying. So if you want to know how to turn that off, there's two ways. One is you can do session timeout 0, and that will essentially mean for this particular session, never never log out of the CLI. But that only affects this particular session. So the next time you log in, it would be reset again. Also, best practices, you probably shouldn't do a timeout 0 unless you really actually want it to never terminate. Because, you know, if you're running it on your own desktop, it probably doesn't really matter, but in kind of more enterprisey situations, you might have multiple admins logged into CLI. There's a maximum of 8 CLI sessions at once, right? So if everybody is logged in and then puts their timeout at 0 and they forget to log out, sometimes you can see Solace brokers kind of max out their number of admin connections. So keep that in mind. Doesn't usually happen, I guess. So the way you configure that is the console. So enable config console. And from here, you hit tab twice. You can see what's available to configure. I can change the timeout. Put question mark, you can see everything. I can change the timeout, which is now like every time the default session timeout for new CLI sessions. This is what's set to 5 minutes when you first download the software broker. So I always change this right away so that it doesn't time out after 5 minutes because that's a pain in the butt. So if you're like me, first thing you should do when you download a new instance of the Solace broker is going to console. So let me show you how to do that again. So you first log in, enable, config, console, timeout 120, put it to 2 hours. That's pretty good. That way your CLI won't automatically log you out every few seconds. So just useful. You can also change the banner, you know. Is it login banner? You can specify either some text that says, welcome to Aaron's awesome software broker. No. Just that. Does that work? How do we do this? Oh, I gotta say text. All right, watch this. Text. Is that gonna work? Log out. Log back in. Yeah, there you go. I've changed the banner. Now, or you can specify a text file, right? So if you go to like do some ASCII art or something, you can do, you can make something more interesting looking. ASCII. Yeah, I use this one all the time. Shout out to petorjic.com. I use this particular website all the time. SG Lab. You know, there we go. Cool font, cut and paste. Make that your banner for when you log in. Solace rules. I don't know. Pub sub plus. How about that? That actually looks all right. Pub sub plus. It's hard to say. Pub sub plus, the name of our broker. I mean, everybody just calls it Solace, so I'd still call it Solace. Anyway, what am I talking about? Let's get back to reality here. RDP configuration, right? So this is actually something that is actually way easier to do in the GUI tool. There are a couple of things in Solace that I feel the GUI tool is far better at than the CLI, even though I love CLI. One of them is VPN bridges. For any of you out there that have ever configured VPN bridges by hand, you know that it's kind of a pain in the butt. Doing it with the tool, the GUI tool, the PubSub+ Manager is so easy. Click to connect, right? How easy is that? So nice. Basically sets up. The only problem is, because it's a wizard, it forces you into certain configuration changes. For the most part, they're okay. But if you really need something kind of special, you still need to go and code it by hand. By the way, SolidMin, our original kind of GUI thick client management tool, still works, even though it hasn't been updated in quite a while. You'll get some warnings about SEMP, schema validations and whatnot, but you can still use it to do a lot of basic configuration. None of the new stuff, none of the really, really new stuff, but you know, VPN bridges have been around since Solace 5.2. They were brand new when I joined Solace. So that was one of the first things I actually learned at Solace, was how to configure a VPN bridge at a time when nobody really, the only thing we had was multi-node routing as a way to bridge data between multiple devices. And yeah, I forget what I was talking about. Anyway, doesn't matter. Let's get on with RDPs. Yeah, so using SolidMin. SolidMin can still configure VPN bridges, and again, that's actually still easier than using CLI. You know, SolidMin can be downloaded from our downloads page, solace.com/downloads. For those of you that have never used it, I mean, it's kind of old. It's kind of, you know, it's a GUI, it's a Java Swing application, right? So it doesn't look all that great, but it is quite powerful. Where is it? SolidMin. There it is. You can download it here. Now, the version that you can download on our downloads page is, I think, only for the free version. So if you're running the Solace standard edition broker, then this will work. But I don't think you can use this to monitor the full version. So if you're a Solace customer, I think you need to download it from your actual customer website. Hey there, would you like to talk about how we can, we got a chatbot now. No thanks, I'm good for now. This chatbot's live on, cool. I've never seen this. This is a chatbot that we now have. I don't like chatbots that much, but maybe this one's interesting. Cool. If you ever do, just let me know while you're bouncing around the site. Don't miss a resource library where you find white papers. Bot. Thanks, bot. This is Aaron. And oh, you can't see this. Hold on. Let me move my head. Can I do this? I can't move my head. Can I make my camera go away? There we go. This is Aaron, and I am doing a live stream right now on Twitch, and you are now being featured. I don't know if he's gonna write back. Yeah, it's too much for the AI. We'll see. Anyway, so you can download SolidMin from here. Check that out. The PubSub+ Monitor. This is the RT-View application for browsing and managing Solace brokers. So another really great GUI tool there for watching Solace. Okay, let's get back to it. What time is it? How are we doing? Well, we got 10 minutes left. So much talking about just random things. So this guy's got an RDP up. So one thing that I noticed in their configuration is that he's pointing to 127.0.0.1. That was my kind of notification. So I was like, hey, you configured an RDP, but you know, in an RDP configuration, you have to configure kind of where the REST request is being forwarded to. So that's what an RDP does, is you have a queue. Oh, I heard the bot respond to me. Did it? No. No, it didn't respond to me. So when you configure an RDP, you kind of have to say where this data is going. So if I show a little picture here, it doesn't really have a good picture, does it? You configure a queue to attract the messages. You configure a REST consumer in order to send the data, and then that kind of specifies where it goes. So he's pointing it to localhost :8080, which is essentially the PubSub+ manager. So I guess if you were making if you wanted to access the Solace manager through a RDP, I don't even know if that would work. I don't think it would. So it's terminating it. It's saying that it's up, but you can't get it to work. So, blah, blah, blah. I have a local running, a Node.js tutorial. Yeah, so I'm going to have to double check this Node.js tutorial here. Let's check that out really quickly. Should I be doing this live? I don't know. This is Aaron going off and debugging things live on camera. It's probably not that exciting. Just going to refresh Twitter one more time just to see if anybody threw anything out there. Dun, 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 dun. Nope. Who is the secret junior developer? Awesome. Secret junior developer. Well, if I see you're out there, if anybody is wanting to know about Solace, check them out and check out Solace devs. Okay. Back to our RDP. So, yeah, so the Solace messaging API, the REST messaging API, this is not the micro gateway. This allows the broker to terminate a kind of an inbound or an outbound REST messaging interaction, and then it can forward that message on to a variety of different clients. Because the Solace broker does all this protocol translation, right? It translates to MQTT, it translates to AMQP. We can interface with JMS applications. We can interface with WebSocket applications. The broker can talk to REST applications, and so you can mix and match how your applications are deployed, and then kind of what languages you use and all this kind of stuff. So let's check out this little sample here. Start a VMR, receive a message. We're going to create a consumer. So, all right, this little node service. Yes, I remember doing this. So in this one, fires it up on port 9090. Yes, I've already done this. Go back to my Ubuntu here. Let's log out of that. Node. Did I put it in here? Yeah. So here is my version of this little sample. So what does it say? Yeah, I'm not a fan of this. Yeah, so look at this. In the above, you need to update RC host and RC port to represent the host and port of whatever. But that seems like you can't just type in these numbers, I don't think. Why not make it, so I made it into variables. So we have a port called 9123. Let's make it 1010, just like this one. 9090. 9090. All right. Save that. Listen on that host. Listen on that port. Port, host. Server running on. Yeah, see, why not make them variables, and then you don't have to copy and paste in multiple places. That's what I would do. Anyway, once you get it running, let's see here. Quit that. Node server. There we go. So now that's running. Cool. I should be able to go to a browser. Double check this. Localhost 9090 /hello.html. And we get, ta-da, we've received a request for hello HTML. And whatever our favorite icon is. This, this timeout? I don't know what that is. I don't know what it's supposed to actually do. So that works, okay. Even the tutorial, So now we configure a REST, we're going to configure a REST endpoint. How much time do we have? 5 minutes. Let's do this. Can we do this? Now the only problem is I'm not actually running this broker locally. I'm tunneled through. I've tunneled through to my lab. I don't know if I can run a broker locally. I don't know if I have enough memory and CPU. Okay, you know what we're going to do? As an experiment, this is the end of the stream. We got about 5 minutes left. I am going to turn off my SSH tunnel. And then I'm going to fire up a Docker container. I'm going to fire up Docker and see if that breaks the world. Docker desktop. Let's fire that up. I'm going to keep an eye on my CPU. Let's see here. We're going to watch it together. We're going to see how many frames are dropped. We're going to see how well I can stream into Twitch, considering my CPU is getting maxed out here. So we're going to boot up. I'm booting up Docker desktop. I'm going to start a local Solace broker, local Solace PubSub+ broker, which I can then do some configuration on. I'm going to make it talk to that node server and carry on. So while I'm waiting for that to load, this might take a little while, let's go back and look at this particular person's questions here. Blah, blah, blah. If your broker is running on your local laptop, the address, you know where else, you have something else running. Okay. Port 8081. Okay, so I went and I did this, I made that work. Confirm the output is similar. Oh, that's right, I never actually finished this, did I? So I got this working, but they couldn't actually respond. I even tried calling. Now what happens if, this seems to have worked, but what if I do a curl? So that's running still. This is turned off. So curl, verbose, localhost :9090/abc.123. I do get a 200 OK back. Look at that. Okay, so I get a 200 OK back. So it's working. There is a response. That's good. Close that. Close that. Dun, 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 dun. Is my Docker up and running yet? It's still booting? Still booting here. Gee whiz, CPU. I'd be interested to see how bad my stream gets, you know, with this thing turned on. Oh man, I wonder if anybody's watching this. Hopefully not. I assume people have dropped off by now, rather than sticking around watching this painfully slow connection here. All right, let's put that like that. Why not? All right. Installed in my local. Let's zoom in here so we can all read together. I can ping it. Yeah, of course you can ping it. Using VirtualBox, okay. Oh, it's running inside VirtualBox. Okay. That's probably why. I bet you Ari is right. I think you can't, you know, obviously 127.0.0.1 is going to be referring to, yes. Where does it first mention Oracle or VirtualBox? I've installed Solace in my local Oracle VM. Okay, but it doesn't actually say. Okay, interesting. So this, yeah, we need to know what deployment option. So That's the thing about the Solace software broker is we have so many different ways of deploying it. As a Docker container, as a VirtualBox OVA, you can run it in VMware, and they all have slightly different, obviously, network setups and things, right? So Docker kind of runs it as almost like a application locally, whereas with running it in VirtualBox, it's more like a actual kind of virtual appliance. It's really separate. So it's going to have a little bit different behavior. All right, Docker's running. You know what? I'm not going to be able to debug this fully today, but I do want to fire up. My Docker container and see how badly it affects the stream. I'm going to go watch the replay a little bit later. So we're almost done here, folks. I'm just going to start up Solace here. Start up Solace eval. This is an evaluation version. I downloaded it. Yeah, so the Solace Evaluation Edition is essentially the full-blown enterprise version, which is completely unlocked in terms of performance, but it has a time bomb of 33 months. So after 3 months, it disables itself. So it's great for downloading and making sure that you can run it, do all your performance testing, make sure that it's going to work the way that you want it to. Yeah, it's pretty warm there. That's pretty warm. I need to get a laptop cooler, I think. I think I need to get a fan to, my CPU is running right now at about 85 degrees. Is that safe? I don't know. My little laptop was not built for be a live streaming machine. That is for sure. Check this out. Man, oh man. There we go, 84 degrees, 86 degrees. Hot, feeling hot, hot, hot. All right, Docker PS, are we running? Docker, now, how can you log into CLI? I think I did this in another video a couple times. So you can either log in using the part 222 if you have it exposed. I've published it. So I can definitely do that. I wonder if it's going to ask me, let's see, I have to use SSH here. No, leave that one alone. There we go. SSH-P2222, localhost, please. Yeah, I thought so. Every time I start it up, it needs to, yeah, so you know what? Let's just not do it that way. I need to fix the SSH key. Or, much easier, docker exec it, the name of the container, Solace eval in this case, and then CLI. Boom, we are now in. So I am going to have to spend some time, well, you know what, we're online. Let's actually, I'm going to debug this and see if I can figure this out in real time. Why not? I don't have to end at the hour. I do want to get some lunch though. It's 1 o'clock. I have another call at 2. But let's see if we can actually figure this out here and now. So let's go to localhost 8080. I got my software, my Docker booted up. We're going to use a default message VPN. That's fine. We're going to make a queue. We're going to call it queue RDP. Turn it on. Blah, blah, blah. First thing, make a queue. Done. Next, go to client connections. We need a REST client. We're going to make an RDP, make a new RDP, RDP1. Go. Turn it on. Hit apply. Boom. Now, I forget, I think we click on it. Queue bindings, go to queue bindings. We want a new queue binding. Queue RDP is the, we have a drop down. Look at that. Boom, drop down. Beauty. Create that queue binding. And I think we have to set this. This is where I don't know. All right, hold on. Queue binding, post request target. Yeah, here we go. REST tutorials. Let's follow this. /REST/tutorials. Yeah, this is basically when I'm publishing into the webhook is coming out. So when I'm publishing, whatever data lands on my queue, it tracks by the queue. It's then going to get pushed out this RDP. This particular configuration means that we're going to replace whatever is inside the message and we're going to publish to this particular target. So we're going to specify the outbound host that we're going to via the REST consumer, and then this thing is going to be the actual kind of the rest of the URL. So let's see. You know, I'm just going to close that and close that, close that. Now I can flip back and forth here. So we got a queue, topic, or whatever. We'll configure that in a bit. Got the queue binding. Okay. The queue is called queue RDP1 input, but the queue binding is called queue RDP1. I don't get that. That's a bit interesting. No, the queue is called queue RDP1 input. Look at that. All right. Surprised that they're using CLI and not SEMP v2 to make this tutorial. Maybe this tutorial is old. Definitely needs an update. All right. Either way, we're gonna fix it. All right. And then we need to specify the consumer, right? Where do we do that? Here. Remote host. You got to replace all that stuff. Yes, yes, yes. So this is where I did localhost. And maybe that will work, and maybe that won't. So hit apply on that. Go into the REST consumer. Maybe we want to make a new REST consumer. RC1. Part of the RDP, we're going to enable it. It's going to be localhost. Port 9090, please. No TLS. Basic auth. I don't think we need authentication, right? Authentication, none. Yeah, none. Okay. That should be it. Apply. Oh, my nose is so itchy. Refresh. Nope, it's down. Why is it down? No REST consumers are up. Yeah, thanks for that. Why are there no REST consumers up? Peer refused TCP connection. Okay, so I'm wondering if, oh, my nose is so itchy. There is some reason that my Docker container, let me zoom in a little bit here, is that better? There's some reason that my Docker container is not able to get to my localhost. Well, what if we try what our actual ifconfig is? So, no wait, what's the new way of doing it? IP adder. Oh gosh, how many different things do I have? I'm not on Wi-Fi. I'm on Ethernet. Probably this one? Yeah, I don't know. Gee whiz. IP adder, I thought it's supposed to be the, okay, what does ifconfig say? ifconfig. It's mean less things. I think it's this. I think this is my, I think I've set my router, my home router to be 10.1.1. So I think that's it. So, gosh, I don't know. I don't know. I love debugging things in real time. Let's see, change this to this. Yeah, apply that. Yeah, go for it. Boom, boom, boom. Stats, details, refresh. Yeah, doesn't like that. Must be, it has to be something to do with the way. Can I ping that locally? So what was my 9090 hello? No, that doesn't work. Okay, that's good. That doesn't work. What were my other options? Let's try this one. That doesn't look right. .1? I don't think my Ethernet address is .1. No. So localhost works though, right? That works. Yeah. Now, but what we want is 10.1.1. What I said was 245. That should also work. So why is that not working? 'Cause isn't that me? I'm going to figure this out, and I will report back next week with what it is. I can't imagine anybody's going to sit here and watch me do this thing. So, yeah, I'm going to stop. Thanks, all, for watching, whoever is out there. Yeah, see you next week, all right?